Hey everybody, welcome back to another action-packed, exciting episode of Scotty's Record Shop. Before we get into the subject at hand, which is going to be ranking Paul McCartney's studio discography, I'd like to say welcome to the new subscribers who have just recently subscribed to the channel. Welcome. You are greatly appreciated. I know, womp, 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 womp. Everybody's heard this before who's been here for a while, but I do appreciate each and every one of you. I really do. Okay, so this video was going to be, well, actually I started planning this video about 2 or 3 weeks ago in my head, ranking in my head, going back and listening to some things that I really wanted to listen to again of McCartney's. And because this isn't easy, and some of my choices are not going to be very popular. Along comes Mean Mr. Mayo. We all know who Mean Mr. Mayo is. Joe. Hi, Joe. I don't even know. You were at one time subscribed to the channel. Joe and I started off at the same time, pretty much. About 150 years ago when the vinyl community was an itsy-bitsy, teeny-weeny little yellow polka dot. Oh, never mind. Back a long time ago. And obviously Joe stuck around and is the great channel that Mean Mr. Mayo is today. Actually, he has a couple of channels. Anyway, but Joe did a video ranking of Paul McCartney studio discography to celebrate his birthday. So he kind of beat me to the punch. I wasn't doing this for his birthday. I was just doing it because I've been really thinking about this a lot. I love Paul. Paul is my favorite Beatle. The shirt, by the way, was not planned. The shirt was not planned. This was on the top of the clean pile. Okay, and it just so happens to work out that way. But anyway, yeah, Joe did a really great video ranking his least to favorite with Paul's discography, and he made some very, what I would consider, unpopular choices. I agreed with him a lot, though, and I'm sure probably, and I hope not. Be nice to Joe. Be nice to everybody. This is just our personal opinions. But probably Joe got a little bit of grumpiness in his comment section. Let me know what you think. Be nice to each other. Please be nice to me. This is just my opinion. It's obviously we're not going to have the same opinion, with every album. I'm partial to a certain era. You'll see that. But there are two of his albums. It's studio albums, no compilations, no live albums, no classical albums, and no Fireman albums. None of that stuff that he did on the side. Okay, and there is Wings in here, but just basically whatever it is, 25, 26 albums. Two albums. I'm being very lazy here. I have pretty much everything with the exception of one album. I do not have a physical copy of it, and unfortunately, I'm going to explain why and probably upset a few people. Pretty much I have most of this on vinyl. But I was lazy. I just grabbed the CDs. So the one that I don't have a physical copy of, obviously I'm going to just talk about it. And one that I have on vinyl, but I thought I had on CD, but I just didn't. So anyway, so let's get into it, shall we, kiddies? Okay, let's start pissing people off right from the start. And I don't mean to, and I'm sorry. And I also am going to be very nice. And a video that I made some time ago, I referred to Paul McCartney's singing voice now as sounding like a strangled fart. I'm not going to be that mean. I don't care for his singing now. I just don't. It just is what it is. Some of us really appreciate it. I'm not one of these that say, Paul, give it up. If you want to, I've seen Paul. I saw Paul about 25 years ago. Yeah, about 25 years ago. Fantastic. And if you've never seen Paul and he's touring, go see him. I mean, you're not going to hear him sing anyway because everybody's singing. You'll just see him. And the band is fantastic. So there you go. Paul, do it, whatever the hell you want to do. You want to make another album? That's awesome. I may not buy it. But go ahead. Go ahead. There's plenty of people who will. Speaking of, at the bottom of my list, I'm sorry. I'm only going to say I'm sorry once. That's it. Throughout this video, watch how many times I say I'm sorry. Oh, kids, McCartney 3. I cannot do it. I've tried. I've tried. I recently went through it again. Slide's a pretty good song. The last song on the album, which was a leftover from the 80s, is like this weird thing at the end because his voice is different, the instrumentation is different, the production is different. It's like, no, I just can't do it. Some of the writing is okay. Laboratory Lil, okay, but I just can't do it. Honestly, listening to that album makes me sad because I I know what he was, and I'm glad that he's still doing it. Good for him, but wow, I was so horribly disappointed with that album. Okay, now I'm gonna piss some more people off. I'm not sorry anymore. I've already said I'm sorry. I've tried. This album is gone. It was when it first came out. All pretty much everybody who bought this were, at the very least, puzzled. Okay, we were puzzled. I tried. And there was a point, probably 10 or 15 years ago, where I was like, okay, I'm going to like this album whether I like it or not. If that makes any sense. I just can't. Sorry, kids. McCartney 2. I appreciate his attempt. I really do. I mean, he took something that was happening and took it the extra length, but it just, for me, it didn't work. There's some okay songs on here. Coming up, I prefer the live version. I think the live version has more life to it, and with a song that's happy and energetic, like Coming Up, I just think the live version works better. I mean, I can hear the studio version. Frozen Japs, okay. Temporary Secretary is it's okay, but I don't go back to this. I will go back to this again because sometime, and I've just recently listened to this just to see, okay, am I still feeling the same way? Probably the song that I like off of this is probably is Waterfalls, and that's kind of sort of a typical McCartney album or song, you know. So anyway, next one, I think a lot of people feel the same way. Okay, look, there's some good stuff on here. It's another one of these, just like McCartney 2, where he was really trying to fit in with the current kind of thing. And Paul's at the point where it's like, just be Paul. Don't try to fit in. You're your own world, man, and that's great. When he tries to fit in, sometimes it works. In his later career, there's an album that'll come up later that's like, hey, that's okay. But perhaps no. Only Love Remains. I'm picking these songs that are atypical McCartney songs, so you kind of know I'm kind of this boring. Well, you'll think that I'm this boring, let's not take a chance kind of guy with Paul. But, I mean, this is... I guess it's okay. Whoops. I guess it's... CD's falling out. I guess it's okay. It's not something that I go back to. It's just... The production kind of kills it. I think if this was done a little differently, it would rank a little higher. Okay. I'm going to mention Joe again, Joe Mayo. He had said something about this next album in his review, and he kind of nailed it for me, and I never could put it into words. And it's still, even the way he put it, it still doesn't give an exact, specific thing. Egypt Station. Am I holding this up right? I don't know. Yes, I am. Egypt Station. He said that he just got a weird vibe from this album. There's some good stuff on here, even though it's later day and his voice is really starting to suffer. But I agree with Joe, and I can't put my finger on it. There's something about this album that just... I don't I don't know. He was talking. One thing Joe had mentioned is the little medley towards the end of the album. I don't mind that. I'm not a big fan of the subject matter. I'm not going to get into politics, but um, not the biggest fan of the subject matter. But I thought it was okay. It was a throwback. I mean, some people think, "Oh man, can you just give it up now? You did Uncle Albert, Admiral Halsey. You did Band on the Run. Come on." But I thought it was okay. You know, there's some stuff on here that's really irritating. But this is what it is. Not even going to pronounce the name. His Russian album. I don't mind this. It's it's not as good as the other the his Run Devil Run, which we'll see a little later. This is okay. Some people really don't like this and put this really towards the bottom. I I don't mind it that much. I think that they're having fun. I think, yeah, maybe they could have gotten it together a little better, but this is supposed to be an old style rock and roll revival kind of album. And it works for what it is. Could have named it something in English, but hey. So that's where this one rests. Next one is the one I have it on vinyl, but I don't have it on CD. It's Goodbye. Um, it's the Broad Street album. The movie sucked. No other way to put it. The movie was just bad. I remember going to see it with a girlfriend at the time, and it was like I apologized to her after because it was like, I'm sorry. That was because we were both really Paul McCartney fans. Her and I were. So when we went to it, we were both just looking at each other after, going, "What the hell was that?" um, the soundtrack is pleasant enough. No More Lonely Nights is a great song. We didn't have to redo it a couple of times more on the album, but um, it's the remakes. Did he really need to remake these songs? No, but they're pleasant enough to listen to. So even though it's something I don't go back to very often, I find it to be a pleasant listen. It's not offensive. It's not irritating in any way. So that's where um, give my regards to Broad Street goes. Okay, next one. I'm gonna do this. Wait a minute. Okay, last minute switching around here. Okay, Driving Rain. I don't hate this album as much as some people do. This has sentimental value to it because I went to see him on this tour. I went to see him in 2002. It was 2002, 2003, 2002, something like that. At Boston Gardens, or the Fleet Center, I think is what it's called now. Great, 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 great. Did I say it was a great show? And these songs, some of the songs he played off this live, like 3 or 4 songs, they were pretty decent live. So this, people are like, this is the Heather Mills. This is the breakup album, and I'm gonna quote Joe again because he was absolutely right. They hadn't broken up. They were very happy at this particular point in time. So this album was supposed to be kind of a happy album. Is it? Is it his best work? No. It's all right. Some people really don't like the song. What is it? Freedom. I don't mind that. I think of September 11th and all that, so it's kind of special to me in that respect. Okay. Next one. Trigger time. Another trigger. Chaos and Creation in the Backyard. Why on earth is this so low? This is a fantastic album. You're out of your freaking mind. Blah, 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 blah. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay? There's some really great stuff on this. If there was a breakup album, this would have been it. If I ever made a video, it would be interesting if I or somebody else made a video, or if we did kind of a, whatever you call it, a challenge or whatever. I don't even know what they call it anymore. Challenge you to make a video. Albums that I wished I liked, but I don't. This is one of them. I really want to like this album, partially because maybe it's peer pressure because so many people love this album. There's some really amazing songs on here, and it's not because he gets very personal on this, and I enjoy that. I think this is probably his most personal album. A lot of times he writes things in there. They're kind of they're not close to him unless he's writing something about people that he loves, Linda or his current wife or Heather. You know, it's not that it's like that. It's just there's something about this that I almost want to use the word dreary or something. I don't. Just half of this album is really, really good. The other half of it, I can't do. So, there you go. Chaos and Creation in the Backyard. People will be really angry about me putting this beyond Chaos and Creation. I like this album. I don't care. I think his voice works well on this album. And that's Kisses on the Bottom. Okay, I know it's pretty much a covers album, and he's doing standards. How uncool, I like standards. I grew up with my parents listening to, I grew up listening to Glenn Miller and Artie Shaw and things like that. My parents listened to, so I'm used to this stuff, and I like this stuff. And I think Paul had a good band. I think that he did a fairly good job on this, and I just enjoy it. I just do. I guess enough said, right? I can tell you, though, I do not care for the new remake of Kisses on the Bottom with Barbara. Barbara Streisand. Barbara's wonderful. Barbara's in her 80s, and Barbara sounds like she's in her 40s. Barbara's fantastic. Paul struggles. And that's all I'll say. He's just struggles, But anyway, a decent album, I think. Next one. Some people put this towards the bottom. It's moving kind of up for me a little bit. There's a handful of really, 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 really good songs on this album. There we go. Okay, so Wildlife. The first Wings album rushed, or it was made very quickly. It was meant to sound rough. I'm going to kind of paraphrase. There's the word I'm looking for. I'm going to kind of paraphrase Alan Parsons on his thoughts of this album. He wishes that Paul would have taken some more time to make this album. Because the potential is there. This is not... Wildlife is a great song. Tomorrow's beautiful, There's some things on here that... Yeah, this still has lower in my list, okay? Years ago, this was lower. But it is what it is. It's the beginning of something new. I agree with Alan Parsons. I wished he would have taken a little more time. And not even like years or 6 months. Just a couple of months. Instead of doing this in a couple of days. A couple of months. Because the singles that were issued right after this, High, even Mary Had a Little Lamb, and Give My Irish, Give Ireland Back to the Irish. Fantastic songs, fantastic songs. So this was a good band. They just needed a little more time, I think. I wish they would have gotten it on this. Okay. Pipes of Peace. I love Say, Say, Say. I still, last number one hit McCartney ever had here in America, I believe. I think it's a great song. I think there are some other songs on here that are really, really, really good. But I'm not the only one that feels this way. This kind of feels like the leftovers of Tug of War. Tug of War was just an absolute masterpiece, and it's way up there. We'll get to it eventually. Just didn't this just again? It's okay. Every once in a while, I'll listen to it and go, yeah, it'll throw me back to the '80s. It's not so '80s as Press. But it's still pretty pretty '80s sounding. But for Say, well worth the price of admission. I'm not sure if that's coming out very clearly because of the lighting, but there you go with that one. Um, Off the Ground. I agree with most everybody when they talk about this album. They want an expanded edition because the stuff that wasn't included on this album but was recorded around the same time tends to be better than the stuff that's on this album. I kind of agree with you. Some of those B-sides and stuff, some really, really good stuff. This is okay. I don't... I liked this more when it came out than I do now. And I can't quite put my finger on it. I'm not quite sure why. It's not a bad listen. I just... It's gone down. I mean, it was never like the greatest thing he ever did. But, you know, hey, it's okay. But I almost want to say it's McCartney by numbers. He's just kind of, you know, I don't know. It doesn't. Flowers in the Dirt is a better album for me. Just for me, and we'll see where that comes out a little later on. But okay, so Off the Ground, not a horrible album, an enjoyable listen, but by no means his greatest work. Okay, moving onward and upward. Run Devil Run. I enjoy this. I really do. I think it's the better of the two. I think pretty much everybody feels the same way. This is the better of the two. The better of the two rock and roll revival albums covers that he did. Of course, he has some pretty got a little help from some people here, you know, Gilmore and some other people. It doesn't hurt, right? It made and you know this came out. Memory serves me correctly. This came out right after Linda died. He had and he needed to do this, and I give him an enormous amount of credit. You know, Linda's death hurt him really badly. He loved his wife dearly, and I think this was a nice, positive for everybody. I think it would have been too bad if he put out a really grief-stricken album. I mean, if that's what he needed to do, it would have been what it was. But I'm enjoying that he puts out an album that's kind of happy in a way, you know. Just get him back into the groove again, and it did. He did a wonderful job. Everybody on this album, top notch. So good album. Moving onward and upwards, as I'm dropping booklets. Did you know that these are the albums that are coming out next? Boy, where is the archive collection? We haven't seen anything in like 5 years. Come on. We need London Town and Back to the Egg. Okay, Paul? I know he's listening. He's got to be listening, right? He's got to be watching, Paul. Hi, Paul. Love you, brother. McCartney 1. Other people put this a lot higher. There's some amazing songs on this album, but there are some things that are very unfinished. I'll say the same thing. I'll pull an Alan Parsons on this one. I wish you would have taken more time and made a more complete album. Just saying. The critics hated this when it came out. People are like, "Oh, it's brilliant now." Of course it is. You didn't think it was brilliant when it came out, did you guys? I don't mind this album, but there's some, you know, Every Night. Obviously, you know, Maybe I'm Amazed. Junk. Both versions of Junk. I love both of them. They're a beautiful melody. You know, just The stuff that he did at Abbey Road was great, but the majority of the stuff that he did at home just sounds kind of like him goofing off. It's kind of half ideas and stuff, and it didn't work for me, you know. But anyway, that's that. Let me make sure I hold this upright. Something wrong with this, isn't there? There, that's what's wrong with it. There we go. Memory Almost Full. This is a pretty good album, I think. I think it's a really pretty good album. Really pretty good. Me speaking good English. I do. I don't mind this album. I really liked it when it came out. It hasn't changed. I listened to it just recently. This is a 2 CD set, by the way. Can't remember where I got this. I thought this was a pretty good record for him. I do. Okay? That's all I have to say about that. It's just a pretty good album. I think the best of his more recent catalog is New. The song New, I think the song New is the last time that Paul did something that the 12-year-olds who were listening to Taylor Swift could have grasped onto and went, this is just cool. He was relevant with that song. He sounded pretty good. His voice is aging some, but it worked really well. It was a well-written song. There's some pretty good songs on this record, pretty much all the way through. There's a couple of clunkers on here, but I was really impressed with this when it came out. And I think out of his 2000 stuff, there's a 90s album that comes up later on pretty high. But out of his mid to late 80s on stuff, this is my second favorite album. Okay. New. And it was new 13 years ago. Okay. One of these that we need a reissue on. Hello. London Town. When this came out, I loved the singles. Even though I've had enough. Some people are like, oh, it's a lame song. I like it. I just did. It didn't do that well. With a little luck, hit number 1 here in America. And the other 2 singles, I've had enough in London Town, didn't do that well, comparably speaking. And it's too bad. Especially London Town. What a fantastic song. I'm carrying. There was some stuff on here when it came out. I was kind of like, ugh. It's grown on me. This album has grown on me over the years. It's a mellow. I hate the term yacht rock. What the hell is yacht rock? But if you had to put a McCartney album into yacht rock, this is it. Right? This is kind of mellow, for the most part, mellow, but really a neat album. I really hope we get an expanded archive edition of this, because there are some really neat things. Some single edits. There's some of the demos from this I've heard. They're really cool. They're very interesting. So there we go. London Town. Wings at the Speed of Sound, 1976. There's some really good stuff on here. Obviously, we have Silly Love Songs, number 1 here in America. Let 'Em In, really good. Beware My Love is just killer. Place to Hide is great. The only fly in the ointment on this, God Love Her. Okay, I know. Cook of the House just is. It is what it is. He loved his wife. Okay, but overall, I think this is a really strong album. It did really well in America. It went to number 1. And this was the catalyst for him doing the Wings Over America tour. He came over while this album was hot and made a fantastic live album, Wings Over America. So there you go. Red Rose Speedway. Another one of these McCartney albums that I thought was okay. I didn't get it when it came out because I was like 8, something like that. But when I really started getting into McCartney and the Beatles in the later 70s, obviously I picked this up. And I thought that the great songs on here were great and the not great songs weren't very great. Or weren't even very good. Again, this has grown on me over the years. I take it for what it is. I think they're still kind of searching for what they wanted. He would lose the band after this. It would just be him, Linda, and Denny after this album again, And I think they recovered pretty well with Band on the Run, don't you? But anyway, and this got the Braille on it too, right there. Yes, it does. And what this says, I believe, although this Braille on this is really terrible. Yes, I did read Braille when I was a kid because I was blind. I believe it says, "We love you, babe." Yep, B-A. Yep, that's what it says. "We love you, babe." Kind of hard to feel this, but "We love you, babe," and that was directed directly at Stevie Wonder because they love Stevie. Who doesn't love Stevie Wonder, right? Anyway, okay. Flowers in the Dirt. I really like this album. Almost got a chance to see him. I actually opted not to go see him on this tour because I'm not going to get into the whole thing. I was living in Massachusetts at the time. My life was very complicated. And a girl asked me if I wanted to go to see McCartney with a bunch of friends of hers. And if I would have went with her, it would have made my life a lot more complicated without getting into it. So I was like, no, I'm not going to go. And man, for years I kicked myself in the butt for that. Oh my gosh. It was terrible. I did again, like I said, I got to see him in 2002, so all ended well. But it would have been fun seeing him on this tour down in Worcester, Mass. But this is just a really, really good. Some people call this a comeback. I think so. I think this was a really good record. It sold well. It was late 80s, 89, but it didn't. It did have that late 80s sound. Not too horribly bad though. I think that Elvis Costello injected into this helped him a little bit. It kind of gave him a little oomph. He really wrote well with Elvis, and he even said that he enjoyed writing with Elvis. So Elvis. So there you go. Flowers in the Dirt. We're really getting into some of the good stuff now. Some people don't like this one as much. I don't care. I love this album. Back to the Egg, 1979. This really needs, because there's a lot of really killer stuff that's floating around, demos and stuff. This needs the archive love, okay? Needs that archive pickup here, okay? Please, Paul, okay? We've been waiting. Really, really, really good album. I liked this album when it came out. I remember this was probably around the time when I was really starting to get really into McCartney and the Beatles. I was within a year or two before this maybe, but I remember buying this when it came out and I dug it right from the beginning. I just did. Some people didn't like it. I dug it. This is just a good album. So we need it. We need an expanded edition. Okay. Of his later albums, 90s on, I think pretty much everybody agrees. This is the shits right here. I just Flaming Pie just There's a couple of songs on here that I really don't like. A lot of people like this all the way through. There's a couple of things on here that I don't care for, but overall, I think this was a fantastic album. He was writing this around the time that Linda was battling cancer. Um, and it's just Little Willow. I mean, just, this is just a fantastic album. One that I don't have on vinyl. I actually, when this was reissued on the archive series, I could have gotten the album and I just didn't, and I don't know why. I should have. Probably will end up finding that eventually, but a great album. We're into great albums now, kiddies. Not good albums, not so-so albums. We're into the great ones. Pipes of Peace. I mean, Tug of War. Sorry. Tug of War. Love, love, love this album. The funny thing was, the lead single of this, on this, was Ebony and Ivory. And I remember hearing in the music mags that McCartney and Stevie Wonder were going to pair up. And my first thought was, this is heaven. This is it. This is going to be the greatest thing ever, because they're literally probably my two favorite artists, especially at the time. And I heard it and I was like, this is really bland. This is very disappointed at the time. And it was my least favorite. I went out and, because I'm a devoted McCartney fan, I went out and I bought the album. And if you would have asked me back in the 80s, maybe even into the early 90s, I would have said that Ebony and Ivory was the worst song on this album. How do I feel now? I don't think it's the best song on this album, but as I grew up and just, I've developed a real like for that song. Actually a love for that song. I think it's a very, some people would say, oh, it's corny, but it's about getting along, and trying to get along, which is something that most people don't seem to care about anymore. So this is a fantastic album. Fantastic. Did I say that this was a fantastic album? Okay. We're down to the final three. Oh boy. My wife calls this the pool ball album. I think they actually did use pool table balls. Venus and Mars. Some people really don't like things like Medicine Jar on here because it's subpar. It's not as good as McCartney stuff. It's great. There's some things on here that I think work better on the Wings Over America album, like Medicine Jar. Spirits of Ancient Egypt, I think, works better on the live album. They're not bad here. Obviously, it's my third favorite album by McCartney. And this has been, my top three albums have been my top three albums since the 70s. There's no, this, and they flip-flopped. This has been times when this has been my favorite album. But for today, Venus and Mars, 1975. My third favorite. Great album. I know, say it with me, kids. Have I said this is a great album? This is a great album! Okay. Ram. I don't have I have the archive. I actually bought the big box. It's up there, I think, way up behind me. The box, the big box of it. And I love this album. I absolutely love this. I know that it was just this, I can't even comprehend probably how much dope was smoked during the making of this album. And it shows in some places. But I love this album. I've always loved this album. I found out about this about 77 or so, 78. I mean, I knew Uncle Albert Admiral Halsey. My mom actually really loved that song. I remember when it came out in 71, summer of 71, we were always riding around as little kids going to the beach. Parents would bring us to the beach and stuff in the summer. And whenever that song came on the radio, Mom would reach down to the radio and turn it right up. Man, she loved that song. I love that song. It reminds me of me mommy. So there. But the rest of the album isn't too bad either. I don't know why they didn't release Uncle Albert Admiral Halls Me in the UK. They didn't. And it could have been a number one hit, you know, over there as well. But just, yeah, there's some things about this that are goofy, but it just is what it is. I absolutely love this, and I'm not alone. Most people regard this as one of, if not his greatest album. What is his greatest album, you say? You already know because you're keeping track. And it's boring. I know. I'm sorry. There are times when I get sick of this album and it goes down to maybe number 3. But I think artistically, considering what they were going through, their band had left, 2 of the members had left, they get stuck in Lagos, Nigeria with this horrible situation, and they turn this out. An absolute, this is, you know, probably what Paul will be remembered for in his solo career, probably the most, in my opinion. That's really arguably. I'm making this statement, and I can hear all these little fingers typing now, and that's okay. This is it for me, though. This is the pinnacle of what Paul McCartney could do, and what he did do was Band on the Run, 1973. This is the American version. I have all of McCartney's albums, first pressings, from McCartney up through Pipes of Peace. I have original pressings in American, and I have original pressings in the UK. So I do have the UK, which does not have Hell on Wheels. I miss that on there, personally. Here in America, we got it with Hell on Wheels. So I just, even though it wasn't supposed to be. Oh, let's look and see what's coming up next in the McCartney Archive Collection. There you go. I believe this was the very first one. But anyway, there you go. Let me know what you think. In the comment section. Am I crazy? I don't care. I am crazy. Okay? And I love it. I appreciate it. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you again. This was a long video. I know that it was a little bit long, but it needed to be done. Okay? I needed to do this one. So, thank you for watching. Please, 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 oh please. Joe Mayo doesn't have to beg anymore, but I'm still begging. Please like and subscribe. I love Joe's channel, by the way. If you're watching, Joe, reach out to me. We haven't talked for a long, long, long time. And I do miss talking to you, buddy. Anyway, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share. Okay? It'd be greatly appreciated, okay? All right. And until next time, everybody, peace and love.